And it's so cool to see him doing that because I wanted to be around and healthy, and that's going to be the best thing, the best possibility for that to happen, for him to be around for the long term.
Yeah.
That is really awesome.
And riding his bike is one of the things that he can do more of because his knees are trashed.
Oh,
really bad
okay,
knee.
gotcha. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like finding what works for you. Not everybody is going to be able to do the same things as each other, but if you can just find what works for you and stick to it, I mean, you will see the results.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. That's an amazing story. It reminds me of what my dad, actually, we both have stories about our dads. My dad went through a similar type of thing. He couldn't run. He was 350 pounds at like 5'10".
Oh, wow.
We liked to say at the time he looked kind of like a pregnant gorilla. I'm not joking. Like, he was very big. He literally had fat rolls on his skull. Like, his head had fat on it. I mean, like, and it just naturally his body wasn't supposed to hold that much. Yeah. And there was a lot of guilt. There was a lot of stuff going on that, that kind of contributed to that for sure. And we won't get into that. You can listen to some of the other podcasts to hear some of that other story. But he eventually, it got to the point where he's like, okay, I'm sick of it. I have to do something or I'm going to die young like my other family members. And so he's like, I got to do something. And it was a bike. Yeah. He just got on the bike and started to ride.
Good for him.
And 8 months later, he lost 100 pounds.
That's so amazing.
It was just crazy.
That is amazing.
And he never got back to, his 20s,
Prime,
but still, like, he lost 100 pounds. I mean, from 350 to
that's 250. A big weight loss.
That's a lot.
Then he could start going walking. He could go hiking. He could do all the things that he wanted to do. And it wasn't such a burden. His body wasn't such a burden. So
that's awesome.
So I've seen your before and after pictures, like of your weight loss.
That took a lot for me to post those fat pics. I've had them in my phone for years, but no one ever seen them. And for about 4 years, no one's seen pictures of me on social media. It was just of my kids, because a lot of my family and all of my husband's family's in Texas. We don't see them a lot, so I didn't want everybody to see what happened to me. That was so embarrassing for me. So when I finally post them, but it's easier to post them when you have a side by side that you've lost a lot of that weight.
Before and after.
Right.
Yeah. And if you're cool with it, we'll post those pictures when we
can show your progress and
what
you do
when we release this podcast, because those pictures are so impressive to me. Like,
thank you.
It's
That's
just
so awesome.
Amazing that you have had the willpower to do that. And I didn't know anything about your surgeries and stuff like that before. And so to know that and the reason why behind the weight loss is just so amazing to me. And
it magnifies the story. It makes it just makes it, gives it so much more purpose.
It's weird because, like I said, it's sometimes like I forget that I did that. It's strange how that all works. I never intended that I'd lose that much weight. I mean, I was just hoping for maybe 50 pounds just to help myself out a little bit, But so now I can see the finish line, and that's what's really great. And I don't put a lot of pressure on myself either. I think that's where people go wrong. They put so much pressure, like I got to lose this amount this week. No, just like do your thing and keep yourself moving. And if you fall back a little bit, don't let it ruin your life. You can lose the weight. You can. You've proven you can.
I kind of struggle with putting too much pressure on myself to achieve my goals. Like like that's good. That's a good thing to remember. Is it'll come eventually with consistency and discipline.
Yeah,
but maybe not right now, and maybe not next week, but it will come.
Well, the thing is Shane, and with everybody, Jessica, you too, that everybody's body is different. So you really don't have anything to compare to. You can't really compare it to anyone else's progress, right? When somebody says, hey, I lost this much in 3 months, you can't really compare yourself to that.
Yeah.
right?
No,
Your body is
not at
totally
all.
different. And it's, especially Shane, I mean, going through like what you've gone through with brain injury and
He's
everything.
a rock star.
Yeah,
No, you really are, Shane.
Yeah,
you
how
are one
can
of my
you-
biggest inspirations.
Oh yeah,
Thank you.
it's awesome. And how do you actually like compare? You can't really compare to
Yeah.
somebody else's weight loss journey,
No.
right?
No,
or,
not at
or
all.
even discipline journey, because they're not going through the same thing
Yeah.
you're going through.
Yep.
So you got to give yourself a
Exactly.
break. You got to have self-acceptance. You need to surrender to the process, and then just practice those disciplines
I
over
think,
time.
The thing I struggle with most about that whole thing is having like fun being where I'm at, like
yeah,
finding joy in the
Yeah.
small
in
things.
the journey.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so I just feel like that's something that I need to focus more on.
You can do that just by
Yeah.
literally looking yourself in the mirror and telling yourself that you are.
Yeah.
Just say, hey, you
And
know
I
what?
understand
Yeah.
that because
Yeah.
I go through that still today. Like my life is not perfect. I still struggle with PTSD sometimes. My anxiety sometimes is ridiculous, but just staying close to God for me personally is huge. My family, my mom and my sister, my brother, my dad, everybody stepped up around me when all this was going on, from watching my kids to doing our laundry. My husband's working the whole time. So if it wasn't for having my family around me too, I don't really believe I would have got through all of that.
And that's the exact same with me.
Yeah. You guys have had awesome people in your corner.
Yeah.
And we're very lucky because I
cheerleaders.
know a lot of people don't have that, and maybe that's why they do stay so,
Well, it's a good possibility. Yeah.
And then, friends like Nicole, oh my gosh, she has been a godsend in my life, from the groups and stuff. I consider her like family, really.
Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
Kelly and Cassie and Jessica, like all of them. It's so nice to be surrounded by people, you too, Shane, that get it. We have a group where we can talk with each other. We all understand each other. And it's nice because our families maybe don't understand the PTSD end of it. And that's not their fault. They
Right.
try to go with us on this journey, but they don't really understand what goes on in our head or, so yeah, just surrounding yourself with good people. That is huge.
Well, I saw that in you, like right off, like I think we first got introduced to each other through On the Dash, but so I knew when I made my group Iron Will that I wanted to have you as an admin just to like check in with you and ask you certain questions about life in general. And so
no, I'm very honored that you had me be the admin on there because I love that group. It's just a great group of people that we all inspire each other. No drama, no BS, just good people.
Well, like I've been pretty selective on like
Who you
people
let in.
I
Yeah.
invite
That's
to
right.
the
Sure.
group and stuff like that. So I feel like if we can keep building with as good of people as we have now, it will be such a powerful group.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, it's awesome.
Yeah, that is really cool. You have what's your main driver now? Now that you've gone through a pretty powerful journey, you're still on the journey. But what's your main driver? What's your main?
My main driver is not going backwards. I don't want to be who I was when I was huge and depressed and struggling to even want to hang out with my kids. I don't want to be that person anymore. I want to be, even if I'm in a lot of pain, which I am all the time, I'm still mentally here. I'm here for my kids. I don't care if I'm in pain. We're going to go take care of, you want to go dress shopping for the dance, we're going, just to be in the moment and not feel like life is passing me by while my kids are growing up. And because that's hard for me,
Sure.
I lost so much time with my kids when they were little and I can't get that time back. And I don't ever want to do that again.
Yeah.
And so that's
a primary driver for you is to not go back to where you were before.
exactly because I was just not comfortable with life, not happy with life. I never, contemplated suicide or anything like that, but there were times where I asked God, like, why did you let me live? Like, so I could suffer. And that's terrible. And then I have to ask for forgiveness for that, because how about I'm thankful you brought me back to my kids,
So can I suggest one thing? Like,
sure.
Forgiveness for yourself as well.
That is a struggle.
That's one of the hardest ones for a lot of us, is because, you said you had some guilt. You have, you've missed some years with your children and things like that. Those are all things that you can't change, but don't carry the burden anymore. Another part of forgiveness is forgiving yourself, right?
Absolutely.
And saying, hey, guess what? I forgive you.
Well, I think that will really improve like anxiety.
Yes, it does.
And like being able to forgive yourself for whatever you've done stupid in your life or whatever, it can really improve your anxiety situation, because that's where the anxiety can come from, is just
you dwell on
thinking
the past
about your mistakes and your past, and not wanting to go back to where you were. So
exactly. No, I work on that all the time. Like, especially because I do know that was all out of my control. I realize that, and I had no control over the trauma. So I accept that. I do. I just wish that I could have pulled myself out of it sooner, I suppose. Sure. I guess that's where I struggle.
But because you can't go backwards and pull yourself out sooner, you can take action now and forgive yourself for not being able to do that. Right?
Absolutely.
There's a huge part of that. There's a really cool book called The Rewired Brain. I suggest you read or listen to.
I will look that up.
Yeah, it's by Dr. Ski Chilton. And Shane.
He had.
We had a cool. It was kind of like a podcast mastermind type of thing with him. And the guy he's awesome. He had a really cool story. But he talks about there's one particular part when you talk about rewiring your brain and finding fulfillment and joy, is to find something that gives you purpose now, instead of having the main driver in your life be something you don't want to be, right?
And that makes a lot of sense.
So because like Shane was just saying, if you're constantly thinking about who you don't want to be, right? Thinking about the past, dwelling about a past and saying, well, that really sucked, I don't want to go back to that. That is still opening up the doors for all the trauma to still be there, right? So here's a suggestion, is finding purpose in some type of service, whether it's towards your children, all of God's plan is service, right? Service to our fellow beings, right? So so finding a way to serve and finding enjoyment in serving is one of the best ways to promote the purpose and the drive to continue on, right? Instead of saying, I'm doing this because I don't want to be that old person, it switches to, I'm doing this because I want more fulfillment in life so I can serve more people. Right? It really does. It changes a lot of things. It will help rewire the brain. And Dr. Ski Chilton talks about that a lot in the book, and how to do that and everything. And anyways, I suggest it to all of our listeners.
I will definitely look that up for sure.
It's really good. But it's changed me, because I want to give you just a little, like an example, I guess, of what I'm talking about. Myself, for the longest time when I was young, I went through some trauma. I went through some hard things, and I'll pick out one thing that was hard for me. A lot of people called me a girl when I was young, and that bothered me a lot. I had this cute little face and this long hair, and it's kind of my fault for having the hair that I had. Right, I was this little hippie boy. And, a lot of elderly people thought I was a girl all the time. So in my 20s, I was constantly trying to fight that, like, I don't want to be a girl.
To look
so,
masculine.
I was trying to be masculine. I was trying to be tough. I wore bullets around my neck. I was trying to be hard, right? Which was the wrong way, right? I was trying to fight. It worked for a while. It helped me change, right? It helped me take action because of what I didn't want to be. But by the time I got into my 30s, I was like, I can't keep using that